Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to our younger brothers. And peace and blessing salutations to the whole elect out there pushing this word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the whole elect, the believers, the listeners, whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. And what I want to get into, all right, this morning, dealing with the vanity of idols, all right, and, throughout time, all right, these heathens, will come into power, and they will uplift, their false gods, and, all right, and they will make, statues and, images unto their idols, and they would reverence, their rulership, okay, is based on the will of their idols, all right? And this is why, the truth teaches us that the Heavenly Father is the only true power that exists, okay? Outside of him, there is no power, okay? And these idols are nothing. They're vain. They're worthless, all right? They're creations of man's hand, okay? And in the time when it's time for these, because it's easy to give credit to your power, when the Most High allows these nations, as we know, the scriptures say how the Lord reigneth, all right, in the kingdoms of the earth, and he put in power whoever he wants, okay, because the Heavenly Father was already predetermined of what nation will rule, their time, they will be allowed to rule, okay, and who will come after them in their time of coming down, their time of being taken down, every heathen kingdom has a beginning, all right, date and the ending date. Okay, only the kingdom of Israel has an everlasting kingdom, and that's going to really confound the false deities forever, all right, because once we're established in power this time, we won't be moved, okay, and it's going to be glory to our power, okay. The reason why there's even doubt about, the Heavenly Father is because we as his people, we, all right, were given over into, all right, the hands of the heathens, okay? Different heathens have had us in captivity knowing that we are the Lord's people, So in their mind, you have certain heathens that will reverence the Most High, okay? But they'll think that they're gods, all right? They'll think the Most High was just another god of many, okay? And that their gods had overcame the Most High. No, the Most High was controlling the whole thing the whole time. It was never these other gods. Okay, the Most High decided to allow certain heathen to come into power. Okay, and he allowed certain heathen to take us captivity for our disobedience, man. But it was all one power that was doing this, the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. All right, and he has a son, Yahweh Shai, all right, whom he's given authority to, all right, to be worshipped. Okay, the only two entities that are ordained to be worshipped is the Heavenly Father, okay, and his son, Yahweh Shai. And that's what these heathens finna understand. All right, once and for all, okay? Because in this time, Esau, he has created an idol out of this AI, out of this technology. He can make his idol speak and talk, but it's still an idol. And it's still going to be vain when it comes to the Lord bringing judgment on the devil. AI is going to be vain. AI is going to be irrelevant when the Lord opens up and judges Esau, man. Okay? I don't give a damn what type of AI he got, what type of secret AI he got that we don't know about, and what technology he got we don't know about, or whatever type of witchcraft he do we don't know about. All this going to be irrelevant, okay, when the Lord decides to judge this man and remove him from power, And I got a passage, and I want to get a little history as well. Isaiah 46:1, it says, Baal bowed down, all right, Nebo stupid. Their idols were upon the beasts and upon the cattle. Your carriages were heavy loading. They are a burden to the weary beasts. They stoop, they bow down together. They could not deliver, all right, the burden, okay, but themselves are going into captivity. All right, so read this in the NLT, verse 46. It said, chapter 46, Isaiah chapter 46, verse 2 in the NLT. It said, both the idols and their owners, all right, are bowed down. The gods cannot protect the people, and the people cannot protect the gods, they are off, all right, they go off into captivity together, man. All right, and Esau Edom's going to be the latest example of that, man. Okay, because when Yahweh Shah comes and takes down this kingdom, okay, destroys this man's power structure, Esau is going to go into captivity, man. Okay, and AI is not going to remove Esau from captivity. Okay, Satan can't remove Esau from captivity. Satan is a real deity. Okay, but Satan is under the order of the Most High, under Yahweh Shah. Okay, you see? So everything that these devils put their energy to, their time into, you know, the devil's been able to rule on the left hand side. All right, he's been able to tap into technology, you know, summon up, you know, certain demons and, you know, counsel with Satan. Okay, none of this is going to matter when it's time for this devil to be judged. Okay, and AI for damn sure not going to matter. Now, when you go into the history, this is just a chat, real quick chat look up. Isaiah 46:1. It says, Baal bowed down. They both stupid. They are a burden. They stoop. They bow down together. They could not deliver the burden, but themselves are going to captivity. It says to understand the history behind this passage, you have to place it in the period when the kingdom of Judah was dealing with the rise and fall of the Babylonian Empire. Who is Baal and Nebu? It says Baal, meaning Lord, refers to Marduk, all right, the chief, all right, power of Babylon, the chief god of Babylon. It says Nebu, all right, or Nabu, okay, that's where you get Nebuchadnezzar, all right, was Marduk's son, all right, yeah, Marduk's son, associated with wisdom and writing. These were central gods in Babylonian religion, worshipped throughout large, all right, worshipped through large statues carried in religious processions. Historical setting, fall of Babylon, 539 BC. This prophecy is tied to the downfall of Babylon at the hands of Cyrus the Great, king of Persia. In 1539, Cyrus conquered Babylon without a prolonged siege. When this happened, the idols of Babylon, okay, Baal Nebu, were taken away as spoil. Priests could not save their gods. The gods themselves had to be carried off into captivity. This is exactly what Isaiah is mocking. Okay, so when the Persians took down the Babylonians, all right, they carried away, you know, the gods of the Babylonians. They took down those statues. That's why I said the gods bowed down. All right, their gods bowed down, and the people bowed down. You know, because they had to lower those statues. All right, and the reason they preserved it because they was made with gold and silver, so they ain't just destroy them. Okay, they will take them down. They will melt them down and turn them into jewelry, coinage, or you know whatever they wanted to turn it to, vessels. Okay, to drink out of. Okay, and it says the idols of Babylon were taken away as spoil. Priests could not save their gods. The gods themselves had to be carried off into captivity. This is exactly what Isaiah is mocking. Babylonian idols were heavy statues made of gold, silver, and wood, placed on animal or carts during festival. Isaiah flips the idea of divine power. Instead of gods carrying their people, the people must carry their gods. And it's the same thing with this devil AI. Because if you take the human factor away from AI, AI can't do nothing. AI learns everything that it learns from humans. If you take away the human factor from AI, AI cannot learn. Okay, Esau be hyping this AI up like it's just some type of deity that you know he created. All right, and then even with that, you go into it. It was a Jake computer engineers that came up with the math, okay, and the framework that make AI what it is, man. Okay, and Esau has it, and he tries to turn it into a god, man. It's a false god, it's an idol. Okay, if you take away the human factor from AI, AI can't do nothing, man. Okay, this is just the most advanced idol ever. They can speak, okay. They can talk, okay. They can hear, listen, and respond, okay. But it's all right linked to what? All right, a human, okay, a human factor, man. Okay, it doesn't do anything by itself. It operates based off inputs, man. Okay, and it still takes a lot of human correction for AI to do what it do now, man. There's a lot of people in the background, okay, because Esau make it seem like AI just this functioning entity, and I don't give a damn what he got that we ain't seen. It all requires human factor, man. You take away the human factor, AI is irrelevant, okay? And it's gonna be irrelevant when it's time for this nigga to go into captivity, man. Okay? It says, it says Isaiah flips the idea of divine power. Instead of gods carrying their people, the people must carry their gods. Yeah, it take all this, because people have to build data centers. These data centers there's no different than people building idols of wood, stone, and gold and silver. Okay, because it's all elements of the earth. Okay, and AI can't build its own data center. Okay, the data center have to be built. You see, so how magnificent is AI? Okay, it's overhyped. Okay, it says going into captivity. It says when Babylon fell, the empire that once took Judah captive was itself conquered. Its gods were humiliated and removed. This reflects a broader biblical theme. False God cannot save their nation. Only the power of Israel controls history. What we were saying. Only the power of Israel controls history. Okay? And this is what the earth is finna find out, all right, in a major way, man. Only the power of Israel controls history, man. Who comes into power, who's removed from power, what nation wins this war, what nation wins that war. That's decided by the Most High. What king gets to sit the throne, okay? All this decided by the Most High in the heavens, man. Okay? He reigns, okay, in the realm of men. You see, none of these other idols have nothing to do, okay, with who's in power and who's up next, who wins this war, who wins that war, okay? Because these heathens, they give reverence to their gods, okay? Well, see, that's going to be cut out completely, okay? And they're going to know that there's only one power, all right? Matter of fact, let's go here. This Isaiah 45 and 14. Matter of fact, before we get there, let's get this in Isaiah 2. Then we'll come back to that. This Isaiah chapter 2. Okay. This Isaiah chapter 2, verse 17. It says, and the loftiness of man shall be bowed down. Okay, their pride. And the haughtiness of men shall be made low. And the Lord alone shall be exalted in their day. And this the time we're coming into. Okay, well, the earth is going to know there's only one true power. There's always been one true power. Okay, he's going to show himself, through judgments, and ultimately he's going to reveal his son, Yahushua, whom he's given the power to judge, okay, in the earth, man. Okay, it says in the idols, okay, he shall utterly abolish, man. Okay, so the reputation of these different idols, Allah, that's a big idol. Okay, because right now you best believe Iran is fully locked in, which the Lord got them in that mode for to serve His purpose. But you best believe they believe Allah more than ever now. Okay, which is a false deity. It's the heavenly Father that the reason why Iran is doing what it's doing. Okay, Iran is gonna understand like, oh, it's only one true power, because they gonna see Allah ain't gonna save them from Yahushua. Okay, they gonna know it was one true power. Okay, and it says, Isaiah 2 and 19, it says, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks and into the caves of the earth for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty when he arises to shake terribly the earth, man. And that's gonna be through the nukes and through the chariots. Okay, that's gonna be the fierce anger of the Lord in the earth. It says, in that day, a man shall cast his idols of silver and idols of gold, which they have made one, all right, for himself to worship, to the moles and to the bats. Yes, they're going to see, the earth is going to know idolatry, all right, is a non-factor, man. These gods that they serve are non-factor. They're irrelevant. They are no gods. Okay? All these religions are going to be confounded in the return of Yahushua, man. Okay, all these different belief systems, all these things are going to be confounded. okay? Because they're going to know, all right, that the God of the Hebrews, all right, because the world knows what we teach. You best believe that if the elites know, hey, these other elite families, okay, of these other nations, they know, okay? They know what we're proclaiming our power is getting ready to do, man. And when he do it, it's going to confound, okay, all these other guys, man. Okay? These false gods, man. You see? When the Most High confounds Esau's New World Order agenda, okay, his plot to establish a New World Order, when Yahweh Shai come and bust that up, man, okay, these heathens going to be confounded, man. Okay? It says, um, yeah, it's in verse 21, to go into the clefts of the rocks and in the top of the ragged rocks for fear of the Lord and for the glory of his majesty when he arises to shake terribly the earth, man. Okay? So these devils are going to be in these bunkers, all right? And they're going to be feeling the earth, all right, shake. They're going to be seeing Yahweh Shai. You know, they got cameras and monitors and satellite imagery up there, man. So they're going to be seeing, okay, all right, the destruction and the power of Yahweh Shai and the angels, man. You know, they're going to be in those bunkers terrified, man. You know, and eventually going in there to get them. You see? It says, verse 22, I'm going to read this in the NLT. It said, don't put your trust in mere humans. They are as frail as breath. What good are they, man? And the elites are frail, man. Ain't nothing super like these niggas just, like they X-Men, Dragon Ball Z, they in that type, man. They just mere mortals, man. They just do rituals, okay? They got the foresight on the left-hand side, okay? But now, all right, they're becoming more and more frail. You see? The Lord is breaking them down, all right? They're just human, the elites, The AI is overrated, the elites, they're overrated, and what they're capable to do, we're finding out that they have limitations. Okay, they're finding out that they have limitations, man, because through their pride, this devil really thought that he was on the level of the Most High. Okay, but the Lord's finna show this man otherwise, and his idolatry and his witchcraft is gonna be irrelevant when it's time for this nigga to go into captivity. Okay, you see, his witches and warlocks gonna be in captivity with him. Okay, AI is gonna be destroyed. All right, non-effective. You see, let's see in the kingdom if AI is going to conjure itself back up. Okay? Hell no. So that was the point. So Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified. Till next time, say shalom. Kwame Yashala. Abba, soon shalom.